Council to order for Monday, November 22nd, 2021. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Councillor Peters, second by Councillor Andrews, all in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest? Seeing none, can we have a motion to move into closed, please? Councillor Post, second by Councillor Sherwood, all in favor?
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just note that it's for the matters on the agenda, items 4.1 through to 4.5, and specifically the closed minutes. Just we have to note it for the record. The closed minutes from November the 8th. Confidential verbal report from yourself, Mr. Mayor, regarding public office holders regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Confidential report CPS 2021 082 vaccination status update, council, local boards and committees, and that's regarding personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal local board employees, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege. Then a confidential verbal report from Ed Brennan, CAO vaccination policy update staff, again, personal matters about identifiable individuals, and it's also regarding solicitor-client privilege. And then finally, confidential verbal report from Ed Brennan, CAO, and John Hart, town solicitor, regarding a town building. That is regarding the exception there is with respect to solicitor-client privilege. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. All right, folks, we're going to step out of this meeting and into the other one now.
Yes, and Mona, I will let you know when we're coming back.
Thank you.
So, council members, staff, and members of the public, we are about to start our open session of the Orangeville Council meeting for November 22nd. We had a closed meeting this evening starting at 5:30. A number of issues were discussed, and we'll talk about those shortly. So to get right at this, we're going to start off with the singing of our national anthem. There's been a little technical glitch, so yours truly is going to take a shot at this once again. Here we go. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada. Oh, I'm blowing this, guys. We stand. Somebody else pick it up. Todd, go ahead.
God keep our land.
God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. I won't be making the Maple Leaf Gardens or Air Canada Centre cut. I apologize to all for that.
That's a C minus.
That was very
C-minus.
good, Sandy. Why you would call out me as the potential backup singer, I have
don't
no
know.
idea. But,
You're on my screen there. Anyway,
That's right.
my apologies to all.
I would
Okay,
first.
So we also want to have our land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe people, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and the Odawa of the Three Fires Confederacy. This meeting is being aired on public television and are streamed live and may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. Earlier tonight, we had a closed meeting. Madam Clerk, which items shall we be rising and reporting on here?
Mr. Mayor, actually, if did you want me, or you could just read it as it is as printed in the agenda. Did you want me just to quickly run through it, Mr. Mayor?
Good.
Okay, so the recommendation then that you will need to get a mover and seconder for is that the 2021-1108 closed council minutes be approved, and that the confidential verbal report from Mayor Brown, public office holders regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, be received, and that the confidential report CPS 2021-082 vaccination status update, council, local boards and committees regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, be received, and that the confidential verbal report from Ed Brannon, CAO vaccination policy update staff regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, be received, and that the confidential verbal report from Ed Brannon, CAO, and John Hart, town solicitor, town building regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, and including communications necessary for that purpose, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, be received, and that staff proceed as directed.
Right. So on item 4.2, we need to have a motion to direct to approve the direction to staff. Could we have a motion, please? Councillor Taylor, second by Councillor Post. All in favor on directing staff on item 4.2? Thank you. That was an unanimous. On 4.3, Madam Clerk, again, do we need a motion on this one or just the next one?
Mr. Mayor, everything else, you have covered everything else off. Thank you.
Just receiving the report.
Just the receipt as noted. Yeah.
Right. Can we have a motion to receive these reports, please? Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Sherwood. All in favor? Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. By the way, Madam Clerk, just in the future, in my e-scribe here, under Rise and Report, there is nothing here. I'm just wondering if next meeting, if we could put that Rising report into the agenda, would make it. I know it's on the written agenda, but it's not on the eScribe agenda. So,
Mr. Mayor, we will definitely follow up with you.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to item 10. This is adoption of minutes of previous council meetings. So we have the November the 8th, 2021 council meetings minutes, and also the public meeting of November 15th. May I have a motion to receive those minutes, please? Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor anybody? Councillor Andrews. Okay, and Councillor Sherwood, you wish to speak to that?
Yes, Your Worship. I'm just wondering if the clerk could please look into the minutes of November 8th, motion number 2021-384. It's recorded in the minutes that I was the mover of that motion, and I do not believe I was.
Certainly, we will look into that, Mr. Mayor, and note the correction.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, if I could just point out for council's information, we were made aware of a correction that needed to be made to the public meeting minutes. So I'm going to ask that the resolution or the motion indicate that it is as amended, and the correction is occurring actually on page 4 in the first paragraph, where it was noted on the last sentence of the first paragraph on page 4, it referred to Councillor Andrews, and it should have referred to Councillor Peters.
Very good.
And
Thank you.
that correction's been made. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so with those two corrections, we've already had a motion and a seconder. All in favor? Receiving those minutes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 11, our presentations, petitions, and our delegations. We have joining us tonight James Jackson and Graciela Cardenas Mustafa. First off, 11.1, Mr. Jackson, you have some transit concerns. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, and thank you very much. I've switched over to a screen here where I can see the notes and concerns that I've sent you guys. I hope you've received it already. I will be brief on this, that there is only some major concerns that have come up that people have been asking me is first, why there is no transit committee to us having a transit system itself. There's no overseer. There's nobody that somebody can go and talk to. They don't get any replies from emails or phone calls. They leave messages. So this way, at least somebody would be responsible, or they can go to somebody and talk to them about different concerns that they have. And another one was now that we've addressed with the issue of cars parked on both sides of the street, it should hurry up our buses a bit so that they're not delayed in that, because people are saying to me that there's been up to like a 40-minute delay in their buses, and sometimes they've gotten right up to it and the bus just continues right on through and it doesn't stop to pick them up, so now they have to sit and wait for another 40 minutes. And then the other biggest concern that I've also been told is about with the hours of operation. Why the concern is that why do we stop our buses at 8 o'clock at night when a lot of commercial and commercial, industrial, and retail, they're going to like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and now we're leaving these people to have to walk home. But now it's getting the cold weather and bad weather, so they have to contend with that, or they're left with having to rely on an unreliable taxi service that we do need to have issues looked at with that system as well. And then finally was, I think this was about Sunday service, why there's no service on Sundays, maybe a half a day service for that on Sundays, or go to the farmer's market and stuff like that. And the hours of operation, it was suggested for after hours that like from 8, if we had a bus service from 8 to 10, that they just do the main roads like Broadway, Town Line, John Street, Riddell, that type of thing, and don't have to go into the subdivisions to pick up anybody. It's so that we can make sure that people who do go to nightclubs are not getting into their cars and driving home. So that was pretty much the sum of what was asked of me to come to speak to you guys today. I hope this helps.
Yeah, well, thanks, Mr. Jackson, for bringing those concerns. I'll just take a quick stab. I know, I'm sorry you haven't got some of your questions answered, but we will have our staff that looks after transit maybe respond to you in the coming days, this week, hopefully. But regarding, extending the transit service, it's about dollars. It's about the need, and there would have to be a further transit optimization study to see if that is in fact necessary. We are going to be improving our transit service. There will be a fourth route added. There is going to be some improvements in the system, and I think in the timeliness of the system. Certainly, that's what the transit optimization study proposed, and the changes are coming in the next year or so. So hopefully there'll be some improvement there. As far as extending the service, that'll be a budgetary consideration, and there would have to be a report written by staff to justify that. So that's just my 2 cents worth. I see Councillor Taylor has his hand up as well to speak to this. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. It's nice to see you again, Mr. Jackson. I just wanted to talk to the 3 items that you brought forward as well. I think the communication piece, it's super unfortunate. And I would suggest to you, there's 6 members here present tonight and 1 other member who's not, that if you were having issues with communication, you should reach out to whomever you're comfortable with and advocate through them and ensure that you're getting an answer. For me, the transportation issues, they were high. We were getting lots of communication from residents, and as that committee has ended, I can say for myself, who chaired 2 of those committees, I haven't heard anything for quite some time. So if you are having communication issues, please reach out to whomever you're most comfortable with on council and voice those concerns, and they'll ensure that you're reached out to. And then to the mayor's points, those items on late at night in particular, that was looked at, and the ridership, Mr. Jackson, it's just so low, it's hard to justify the expense for that. And certainly we want to make sure that we're looking after our taxpayers. But I do agree. I mean, there's a gap in our town for people who are working, but at this point in time, it just doesn't make sense. And Sundays fulfilled that same mandate, and that is, the ridership was not there. So the hours that we have are what we're going to have for a period of time, unless something else is brought to council. And at this point in time, there wouldn't be anything brought forth by me unless some other member wanted to do so. But I don't think it makes sense at this time. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. And again, it's nice to see you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. I see Mr. Koselleck has his hand up, and then Councillor Peters. Mr. Koselleck.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just to touch on, I think there's 4 points. First of all, if staff aren't responding to you, Mr. Jackson, I apologize. By all means, you can contact me. I'm fairly new here, but happy to respond, and I will get you my contact information offline. The issue you raised about buses not stopping because of route delays does concern me. If there's some specific examples of where, I'd love to know it, because we'll work with our contractor and get that corrected quickly. I know one of the delays was associated with the temporary signals that were on Centennial Road, and those signals should be removed, if not now, in the next week or so. So that issue should be resolved. And finally, I think the mayor and Councillor Taylor hit the nail on the head in terms of hours of use and Sunday operation. We do have a study going on and a consultant reviewing the hours of operation for the transit system. We expect to get information back and be in a position to report to council on that in the near future. And there may be some options in terms of sort of on-demand service that can address some of the issues without a major budget implication. But we have to get that intel back from our consultant. Then we will be in a position to make a recommendation to council. But thank you very much. Your comments are appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Koselleck, for that. Councillor Peters and then Councillor Post.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Jackson, thank you for raising the points. I think the transit system needs to be consistently reevaluated to make sure we're providing good service. But as a point of clarity, I don't believe I received anything if you sent in some formal correspondence. If you did and I missed it, I apologize, but it would be nice if you do have a file to have it sent in so that it can be received into the record. Perhaps Madam Clerk would be able to clarify if anything was received.
Actually, we didn't see anything in an attachment, James. So if you could perhaps maybe send it to me directly, then I can make sure that members of council get it.
Okay, I'll have to get those notes from people. It was because it was I'm giving it to you via basically secondhand. It's people have made these comments to me that they've called the number that's available, I guess, and they've even emailed and they've gotten no replies back. But I can get you as much information as I can.
Certainly, and if you want to direct it to me, I can make sure that the appropriate staff get it, and certainly send it out to council.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Dates and times would be good, Mr. Jackson, as well as who you're reaching out to. I think that would help. We all want to make sure that the customer is served properly, and we will endeavor to do that. Councillor Post.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, for being here today. You've brought up some really great points, and I'm glad to hear from all my fellow councillors on their responses. One other piece that I just wanted to add is that currently there's a transit feasibility study going on at the County of Dufferin as well. And if you would like to pass on some of your comments to Steve Murphy, he was my contact with it. I'm not sure if he's the right person, and sorry, Steve, if you're kicking me for sending you more emails, but they're currently looking at having specifically different ideas throughout the county on how they can address some of those issues when it comes to different times, especially for retail or for industry. So if you want to send an email to them, James, and just pass on some of those points as well. The report, I think, is supposed to come back to Dufferin County Council sometime kind of early in 2022. So if you get the comments in as soon as possible, that would be great.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Any further comments, councillors? No. Okay, James, thank you for joining us tonight. We do want to improve our transit system, and we're working towards that goal. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 11.2. We have Ms. Mustafa joining us. Ms. Mustafa, are you with us?
Hello, good evening. Can you
yes. Hi. Good evening.
Yes, can you hear me?
I'm wondering if you can share with us. Are you an Orangeville resident or Dufferin County resident, Ms. Mustafa?
I am a Dufferin County resident. I do business in Orangeville, activities in Orangeville. Yes.
Okay. Go right ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, councillors and Mr. Mayor. I have a lot of concerns with regards to the vaccine passport and the vaccine policy of the city of Orangeville. My question is, why are you allowing and enforcing and encouraging the violation of our fundamental rights and freedoms? No municipal regulation supersedes provincial and federal laws, legislations. The vaccine passport is a provincial regulation to be enforced by public health officers. Anyone enforcing the regulation and the mandates are acting as public officers, including businesses and staff, and therefore must adhere to the Canadian Bill of Rights and the Criminal Code of Canada. Vaccine passports violates our rights and freedoms and the Criminal Code of Canada. There is no scientific proof that vaccine passports stop the spread of COVID-19. In fact, fully vaccinated people can spread and get COVID-19. The harm done by the vaccine passport reaches far into our businesses' daily life, and it divides our community. Discrimination, segregation, medical apartheid are far-reaching and traumatizing for those people who have chosen differently. It promotes and incites hate and anger among those who believe that their choices should be imposed onto others. This harm that you are promoting and encouraging goes against every principle based on a free and democratic society. It is unfortunate that you're making decisions based on your personal fears and not on real facts. It is also unfortunate that you're not making the right decisions for the benefit of all of the people that elected you and all the people that you represent. By doing so, you are violating the following laws and regulations. The Canadian
Okay,
Bill
Ms.
of
Mustafa,
Rights.
Ms. Mustafa,
Yes.
I'm gonna cut
Yes.
you off there. I'm gonna cut you off. I think we've heard enough. We've received your documentation, and I
Mr. Mayor, do I
completely
have 5
refute
minutes?
everything you're saying. So
I'm
we're gonna
sorry.
cut you off now,
As a
Ms.
member-
Mustafa. I think we've
As
had
a member of
enough.
the public, do I have the right to speak?
No,
As a member
we've
of the
received
public?
we've received your documentation, ma'am. We understand your
Yes.
position. I personally am completely opposed to what you're saying. The medical science, the public health record is there, and we are following public health officials. We're following medical science, and that's where we're
You're
going.
also violating the laws.
No,
You're
we're
also
not.
violating
No, we
the
are not.
Charter
Absolutely
and the
not,
Bill
Ms.
of
Mustafa.
You are.
All right. Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. It is over now. Thank you.
You'll be informed. Thank you.
All the best. Thank you very much.
You too. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Staff reports. 12.1. We have the annual Business and Economic Development Advisory Committee report. Does any staff member wish to speak to this, or counselor?
Through you, Your Worship, each year staff are asked to submit an annual summary of items that have been addressed throughout the year by the town's various committees for the information of council. And as requested, the BDAC report outlines the activities of our committee to date and provides a work plan for 2022. By the end of 2022, by the end of this year, our BDAC committee will have met 4 times as planned, and we certainly continue to appreciate the input and the support that our committee volunteers bring to the committee. And I will pass it over to Councillor Andrews in case he has anything he'd like to add.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you, Ms. Phillips. Again, publicly, I'd like to thank the members of the BDAC committee, as all of us who are responsible for a variety of different committees. When you have the breadth of sectoral representation, I'm absolutely honored to be in the presence of the people that are a part of our committee. And I'm also pleased to say that under the leadership of Ms. Phillips and her team, they have done an incredible amount of work in our community. And the BDAC committee is also, again, echoing that particular response. I think the key points of the work plan for 2022 really are a summary as well as a forward-thinking view to economic recovery. As we have gone through unprecedented times, as we know, in the last 18, 19 months, it has played an important role in our society, having to navigate. And I think that the work plan itself represents much of what we're planning on doing with this committee. The one point I also wanted to share is the opportunity for members of the committee to also get involved with other activities that are highlighted. Of course, sectoral representation is important, but we also have, again, opportunities for further input at various times with the community improvement plan. We've had a variety of other guests who have also provided some additional input to what is happening economically, not only locally, but also provincially and nationally. So very pleased with the committee's work and looking forward to the rest of this particular term with that committee as well.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Phillips and Councillor Andrews. Lots of exciting things on the economic development front happening in Orangeville. The new tourism program that was introduced to us recently. Lots of new industrial building going on. Over 2,000 residential units in our planning department for review, which is going to be tremendous economic growth to our community. And of course, the installation of fiber optics throughout our town is going to help with business retention and business attraction and work from home and study from home. So lots of good things happening in Orangeville. I want to thank BDAC and Ms. Phillips for all the work that they've done over the past 3 years and continue to work for our municipality. Thank you very much. All right, moving on, we'll get on to our next staff report. And that is an annual report from the Cultural Plan Task Force. Councillor Post, did you want to speak to this, or?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to just make the quick comment that working alongside the Economic Development Department, we've been able to really move forward public art in our community, and our entire work plan has continued to focus on that. So we're going to keep beautifying the downtown core and the rest of the town with public art on utility boxes. This year, we've managed to complete a number of different pieces, including some that were, one specifically that was sponsored by Orangeville Hydro, which is absolutely beautiful in Alexandra Park. We've had another one sponsored by Northman, and it's really starting to pick up for us that we've got a lot of community interest in the public art. We're really being known for our public art, and we're going to keep moving that forward.
Great, thank you. Any questions, councillors, on this report? I failed to put a motion or ask for a motion to receive the BDAC report, so maybe we can combine and receive both 12.1 and 12.2. Can we have a motion to receive those two reports, please? Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Any further comments, Councillor? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. Moving on to 12.3. This is a report from the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee and its annual report and work plan. Any staff or council member wish to speak to this? Councillor Post?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm just happy again to make the comment that we're really working hard to make the community a more accessible place. We're looking at working towards better arrangements for parking. That's been probably one of our loudest concerns heard by the public is accessible parking spaces. Also ramps in the downtown. We're working with an organization to try and move that forward, hopefully in 2022. And yeah, if there's any questions to the report, I'm happy to answer them.
Councillor Post, I'm just wondering about the parking study. I know that some of our bylaw staff have been out working on determining where our accessible parking spots are throughout town, and I think working with our IT department and GIS staff to map these out. Do you know when we can expect to have that study complete? Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure what the completion date is. I would defer that to staff, but yes, the accessible parking piece is definitely a big key piece in that. Making sure that the accessible parking spots are appropriate in the right locations and that they're meeting all the AODA requirements or exceeding.
Right, very good. Well, we'll look forward to receiving that in the near future. Okay, councillors, any further comments or questions on this particular report? No. Can we have a motion to receive it, please? Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Post. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to 12.4, Heritage Orangeville Committee Annual Report. Councillor Sherwood, do you wish to speak to this?
Yes, Your Worship. As usual, we have a very eager and very hard-working Heritage Committee members. We always look forward to doing our annual calendar. We have just approved the draft, and I think that the public should be really happy with what we're going to be presenting them for the 2022 calendar. We're always still plaquing and obviously promoting the preservation of our historical buildings. We represent on many committees. And of course, we're also looking forward to Heritage Week, which is the third week in February. And we have some exciting things to share with you, but I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet.
Great. Councillor Sherwood, can you share with us when the calendars will be available to the public?
I believe, Your Worship, that they're going to be in print within the next week, and we should have them available for distribution in December.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, councillors, any further questions on this particular report? No. All right.
I'll move to
motion to receive it. Councillor Sherwood, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? Thank you. All right, our last.
Your Worship, can I ask a question before we move on to the next item?
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about all the committees and the work plans, I'm just wondering, we seem to be missing Sustainable Orangeville. Did that get overlooked, or is that coming in the future? Because, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor
Peters.
Yeah, thanks. Through you, Councillor Sherwood, that should arrive on the December 6th meeting. I think based on the meeting schedules, it wasn't on the same timeline.
Thank you, Councillor Peters.
Very good. Moving on to 12.5, this is a report regarding some issues regarding the Alder Recreation Center pool. Some structural defects that have been uncovered in the midst of this construction project. We have with us tonight the General Manager of Community Services, Ray Osmond, to speak to this. Mr. Osmond.
Thank you, Your Worship. I find myself or ourselves in an unfortunate situation to report a more deterioration that we found with the structural columns around the isolated to the pool area of the building. There's 16 columns in particular that we've had the structural engineers take another look at over the last 2 or 3 weeks and up till late today to give us another look at some other things that we've had to remove all the material and concrete from, and we've now done that and exposed the everything down to the base plates. Having done that, they've come back with a further review, and they've now recommended that back in my report on October 18th, they were suggesting probably maybe 3 that would be cut off or displaced, if you would, and replaced. And now we're looking at anywhere from 12 to 16 that need to be cut off and replaced. This makes this matter quite extensive. In order to do that, of course, we have to shore up the building itself and shore up the steel columns while the pieces are being cut and the new pieces are inserted. And it's got a lot more complicated and requires a lot more work on behalf of structural steel contractors. So what you have before you is a update from my October 18th report, where I asked for funding to what we hoped was going to be a lot less. And unfortunately, with further review and looking at it with the structural engineers, they're telling us that this must be replaced before we move forward. What this means, and the questions come up, what this means in terms of the operation of that building right now. The pool area, as you know, the pool part of a contract, there's no change in the pool contract. These are building elements. These are building structural elements that we need to repair. And in order for us to move forward with the pool piece, we need those structural elements repaired. This will delay the pool portion by anywhere from 2 to 3 months, given the significance of this job. Because essentially what happens is the structural engineers and the structural contractor takes over that part of the building and does the rental to the steel pieces. And once that's completed, then the original contractor, if you would, that's doing the pool piece, will move back on site and continue with the installation of our pool, the 2 pools that we have, the 2 stainless steel pools. That's a quick overview. But again, it's extremely unfortunate that we find the damage from, as I said in my report in October 18th, we had a lot of water infiltration underneath the surface that we could not see. No one would be able to see that, and it was an unknown. So it's an unknown thing that we found, and it's something that we need to deal with quickly. And the faster we do that, the quicker we get this building back on track and our project back on track.
Right. And the additional cost, Mr. Osmond, if you can just reiterate that for us, please.
And so the additional cost would be, we did approve $200,000 for structural work in October 18th on a contingency, and the additional cost now will be $990,890 to finish this work. Right.
And we have been advised that that money will come out of an existing line of credit that the town has while we continue to sort out the budget and where that money will come from going forward. But for the emergency period that we're in right now, to keep this project moving forward, it'll come out of a line of credit. Okay, I think Mr. Andrews, Councillor Andrews had his hand up, then Sherwood, and then Taylor. Go ahead, Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Osmond, thank you for providing this information. I know it is a very hard pill to swallow, but one that, as you've provided a rather extensive report, it is an absolute necessity to correct this deficiency. You know, as you end up uncovering this particular matter, I'm appreciative that you've provided some clarity as for the delays, because no doubt that these columns have to be replaced first before any additional work is done on the swimming pool. Can you assure members of council that this is, you know, a deficiency that is only isolated to the pool area? It does not have any other correspondence to the rest of the facility. at Alder, because as you know, as members of council and the public, it's a rather robust facility. It has a lot going on. And I just, wanted to make sure that from your perspective that we have no other deficiencies that might be uncovered at some point.
Through your worship to Councillor Andrews, thank you for the question and the comments, Councillor Andrews. Just to be very clear, this situation or the structural issues we are dealing with right now are isolated to the pool part of the building. A couple things. First off, the pool section of the building right now is under the supervision of a structural engineer and a structural contractor and a general contractor. So under the contract, that part of the building right now is under their care, and they take care of that part of the building. The rest of the building, i.e. all the dry spaces, if you would, in the rest of the building, it continues. There's no change, there's nothing going on with that part of the building. We do every 5 to 6 years do a structural assessment of all of our buildings, and we have no issues. No issues in the other parts of our building, both Alder or Tony Rolls. So this is really isolated due to the aquatics environment and due to that environment being really surrounded by water and dealing with water. That is the actual issue that's created all these problems, and it will be isolated and stays isolated to that. So there's no concern for the general public.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Sherwood?
Yes, Your Worship. I believe my colleague, Councillor Taylor, did ring in before me.
Taylor, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Sherwood. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Osmond. Mr. Osmond, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your professionalism and guidance through this frustrating process. It seems funny for me just to sit here and not share that, we're angry about this situation. But I guess in the situation that we're in, just pushing forward the rhetoric for the ability to be heard and share my emotive response, it's not productive, so we'll save it for another day. I would just like to share with council that the idea of the line of credit, I understand why we're doing that. This is an emergency situation. But once we get into the budget process, I'd like to quickly address that. We should not be doing that as a long-term thing in my mind, and I'll certainly defer to the treasurer for her thoughts as we go through the budget process. But in the short term, I understand the need for it. But thank you again, Mr. Osmond.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you. So just to clarify, when it comes to adding up how much this project is going to overall cost, since we've been receiving it in snippets, I'm going to ask Mr. Osmond to correct me if I'm wrong. The overall cost should end up being, with this new funding request, a $6.1 million Alder Street upgrade, 4.5 million of it being for pool and 1.6 million being for the overall building upgrade. So the expense to the pool itself is still 4.5 million, our original approved amount, correct?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Sherwood, that is absolutely correct, yes.
Okay, so my only comment is I too feel like what Councillor Taylor's expressed. I'm a little concerned about this coming out of a line of credit. I'm very passionate about holding on and securing our reserves, but that's what reserves are for, is infrastructure requirements. So I'm hoping that this will come to our budget as a different way of financing it, whether it be through the surplus that we were lucky to receive at the end of last year, or if we can go into our reserves, because I believe isn't 4.5 of it already coming out of reserves, Mr. Osmond?
I'll defer to, I think you're correct, but I'll defer to the treasurer, and she may bring up a date on the other way of funding.
Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, Your Worship. So through Your Worship to Councillor Sherwood, the amount that you have stated, not the entire thing, is funded through the line of credit, only shy of 1 million. And again, that was the path of least resistance given the priority of this project, has been suggested to be funded through the line of credit. That said, the remainder of the project has been funded through reserves.
Thank you for that clarity.
Sorry, can you give me the exact figures again? Sorry, Madam Treasurer. How much is line of credit and how much is reserves?
So line of credit is the 990,000. which is shy of $1 million. The report that has been presented before you today,
Yes.
given the priority of the project and the time, in the interest of time, one of the reasons we are suggesting the line of credit is because that's kind of the path of least resistance. In terms of whether this can be funded through other means, one of the ways I would like to look at it is once we go through our annual audit next year, which will take place in the beginning of the year, I would have a much better understanding of our financial health coming out of 2021. So that would be an opportunity to look at whether the entirety of this additional as needs to be funded through a line of credit, or are there other ways to go about this? I haven't had the opportunity, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Osmond would agree to that. The timing of this happened very quickly. So the suggestion of the line of credit is really to accommodate the timing and the importance and the priority of this project at this point, and also the health and safety aspect of it.
Thank you.
And of course, staff is deep into budget preparation right now, and this is a way to sort of defer this in terms of dealing with it for the time being, but we will address it shortly. Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Thank you, Councillor Sherwood. Any further questions on this matter? I think we need to put a motion here to direct staff to move forward with the additional cost. Could we have a motion to that effect, please? Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you, Mr. Osmond. Knock on wood, you're good to go. Thank you. Let's hope there are no further issues. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have correspondence. We have 13-1. This is a letter from CUPE regarding OMER's pension investment underperformance. We have another letter from the Orangeville BIA regarding vaccination policy and pushing back on the town's vaccination policy, particularly with respect to committee members. We have another letter from the Township of Amaranth, who's looking to the province to provide additional funding to help with COVID-19 passport administration. And then another letter from Regional Councillor Ian Sinclair from the town of Caledon, and had some comments regarding the Island Lake Conservation Management Plan. Could we have a motion to receive all four of those, and maybe we could ask for comment afterwards? Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? I'm sorry, hold on. Before we vote on receiving them, any comments on any of these letters? Councillor Taylor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I don't know how everybody else felt, but 13-1 with CUPE and OMERS, honestly, it's offensive that that letter would be written to us, and it's offensive that they would ask us to take a position. That's not a council position to be being involved in, and that is up to them to decide on their own. So, you know, I wouldn't offer my support to such a edict, and I don't think that's within the purview of this group of people to be doing.
I clarified, Councillor Taylor, that we don't have any CUPE employees here, so it really was just a mass mailing to every municipality in Ontario. So, well,
again, this council shouldn't be a part of such a thing. And I guess if do we go through each one? Do you want it, or do we?
Sure, you've got a comment. Okay. Go ahead.
If I could too, 13-4. Regional Councillor Ian Sinclair. I thought that was an incredibly well-written report. I read it with great interest. If the public is interested in what's going on with Island Lake and why the water's low and improvements that are being made there and recommendations, absolutely fascinating. I know Councillor Peters is certainly more informed than the rest of us, and I wouldn't mind hearing his comments, but what a great read. And I'd be interested in learning more as we go forward. So I thank Regional Councillor Mr. Sinclair for that report.
Yeah, very good. Councillor Taylor, thank you. Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. Pertaining to item 13.1, a very similar point of view that Councillor Taylor has pointed out, but correct me if I'm wrong on this. Is the staff with the town of Orangeville, are they not investing from a retirement perspective in OMERS? Is that something that maybe Ms. McKinney can provide some clarity, or someone from staff? Because is there potential implications? I highly doubt it, but I just for the sake of knowing what I do know about investment strategy and our own personal well-being, I think that just for the sake of my understanding, if you don't mind, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we are investing with OMERS as part of the pension plan. There was some discussion on the letter today internally, and the clerk shared a previous position from AMO actually that does not support QP's position. And I spoke with Ms. Scone in HR, and she also doesn't consider it to be a matter that we should be pursuing. So for your context.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Peters.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just thought I'd address Councillor Taylor's comments. So, in broad strokes, CBC does update its management plans, on a recurring basis. I couldn't speak to the frequency exactly, and I'm not sure what prompted the letter. But to your point, there are some points made in there that should make their way to the CBC board and the CBC staff. They were copied on the correspondence, but the board timing has not been such that we've had a chance to discuss it. So I'm sure I will have some more updates for you after we meet in December.
Right, and I've skimmed through the future plan for Island Lake, and my only comment was that it's a conservation area, and it seemed like the proposed developments there, I think we're, over the top, in my opinion. I think we've got a lot of great things going on there. It's already starting to be overrun. I'm concerned with further development there, my own personal opinion, but I guess that will be debated by CBC down the road. But there were a lot of additional things planned there, and I don't know. I like it the way it is. There's already a lot of traffic there, and creating more traffic drawing amenities, I don't know. It takes away from the serene kind of conservation area, in my opinion, but I guess we'll see where that goes. So councillors, if there's no further comment, I guess we just need to confirm and vote. We had a motion to receive these. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item 14. These are committee and board minutes that have been prepared by various committees. So we have the 14.1 Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee meetings from June the 1st. We have Men's Homelessness Committee meeting of October the 6th, and also Men's Homelessness Committee of October 20th. We have a motion to receive those minutes, please. Councillor Poe, second by Councillor Sherwood. Any questions or comments on these minutes, councillors? All right, all in favor? Thank you. Any notices of motion prior? No. Any notice of motion at meeting, councillors? Any new business, councillors? Councillor Andrews and then Councillor Sherwood. Go ahead, Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to bring to the attention of council as well as our community an organization which is called Project Angel, which has been, it's a nonprofit organization that was formed in 2014. Its objective was to, in fact, support the angel sculpture that is at the Forest Lawn Cemetery. It's actually been there a little bit longer than 2014. This is a gesture from a tragedy that occurred in our community back in 1984. But it is a time where reflection, and those who have attended the Forest Lawn Cemetery have noticed the angel sculpture that had been placed there. It has gone through a complete restoration, and I'm pleased to say that a very short ceremony will be taking place this particular Thursday, November 25th at 10 a.m. on the repatriation of that particular angel sculpture. Led by a gentleman by the name of Marcel Babineau and the board of Project Angel. A number of people in the community, including the carver, Jim Minkin, has restored that particular angel sculpture, and personally have been very proud to be a part of that organization since 2014. So looking forward to seeing that particular angel sculpture relocated in its location at Forest Lawn Cemetery.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Councillor Sherwood and then Councillor Taylor.
Yes, Your Worship. I just wanted to do a shout out to town staff and the BIA staff for the beautiful arrangements they made for our tree lighting ceremony on Friday. They've got the park lit up nice and other facilities, but I also wanted to thank Mr. Ian McSweeney and Miss Claire for the donation of that beautiful tree. That was very, very kind of them to do that, and Oates to make sure tree service to get that in. And just to add to that, I want to remind people that now that we're in the festive season, if you could please take an opportunity, if you have a beautiful light display in your home or want to share someone, to put it on the town's website. We have an app that we can put the addresses. So if people still feel comfortable driving around looking at beautiful lights, I know I did it last year and thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was nice to go on that app and see where people have put on their own lights. So I encourage people to do that. And finally, just to promote some downtown shopping and shopping local, the Orangeville BIA has initiated this year called a Joy Book, where there's over 50 businesses downtown that are participating, and for every $10 you spend, you get a stamp in the Joy Book. And then once you fill this Joy Book in and you put it in the box that's outside Reader's Choice, you have an opportunity to win some great prizes. So I encourage you to shop downtown between now and the end of the year, and make sure you get your Joy Book and your stamp.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Sherwood. And following up, that tree lighting ceremony was quite special this year. Some of our talented young people were singing there. Councillor Taylor's daughter was part of it. They just beautiful voices. There was a young man there named Duncan. Don't know his last name, but just super talented. We have a great theater history now in Orangeville, and it's continuing with our young people. So that was really nice to see and hear on last Friday. Councillor Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. A few things I wanted to call out. One light and one not so light. So the light is continue on the vein. So I'll remind everyone next week as well, but December the 3rd, which is in approximately 2 weeks, the Orangeville Optimist will be opening up KC Gardens and having the lights go on. And I think everyone on council, with the exception of Councillor Peters, has been invited. Just kidding, Councillor Peters, you're welcome to come as well. But we'll have a little ceremony and some speeches from some dignitaries, and the lights will be turned on. And I think after last year, we're all really looking forward to that occurring. And then second to that, I wanted to bring to council's attention something that happened at our last Police Services Board meeting. And that is Detachment Commander Inspector Ward shared with us the quarterly report on different offenses that happen over time. And why I want to share this with council, and hopefully maybe even the press will pick up on this and our citizens will take note as well. And that is the agreement that we have with the OPP is that, and even the debate when we were talking about switching to OPP is we will find out our new billing model at the end of 3 years. And that billing model will be based on the calls for service. And my caution to everyone is citizens are having what I would call frivolous calls come to the OPP for cost of service. So I wanted to call out, please lock your cars. When you call and you leave your car door open and things are removed from your car, that counts as a call for service. And the reality is, once that happens and you've left your car open overnight and something is taken, there's nothing the officers can do to get it. We just lock your doors would be my response. And then the other one that is starting to reoccur on a regular basis is false alarms. So if you have an alarm go off in your business or in your home, that comes in as a call for service, and it's going to affect us all in terms of how this billing model will work. Is it going to be gargantuan? No, I'm not suggesting that at all, but every little bit helps, and we should all be aware of what we're doing. So I just wanted to bring those two things. There was a third one in there, and it slips my mind what that was as we're talking here now, but just if common sense could prevail and we could avoid these things, we want our officers doing other things that we all want them to focus in on our community, and not these odds and sods items that we can all control. So those are my thoughts.
As you're saying those words, Councillor Taylor, I'm just wondering whether Madam Clerk or Mr. Osmond, who has the fire department under his watch, is there any bylaw regarding false alarms? Is there any fines that can be placed? Madam Clerk or Mr. Osmond, are you aware of that?
Your Worship, I'm in particular, I'm not aware of a fine or a bylaw that we have in place to for anyone that has false alarms, not for fire. I know in case of police, I know in our buildings, if we have if we get 3 calls in the building for false alarms, we do get invoiced from the OPP for false alarms.
Well, if we don't have a bylaw, perhaps we should, because if there's multiple false alarms, I think the party who's responsible should be picking up part of the tab there, in my opinion.
Your Worship, if I may, I was waiting on that. Our beloved Deputy Mayor was going to come with me on such a notice of motion, and candidly, I was just waiting for him to come back, and we were going to bring something forward to that effect. But it was a joint initiative, so that sounds like there's 3 of us thinking the same way. But we should probably address it sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Councillor Taylor. One more item I wanted to share. I'm a member of the Orangeville Lions, and we've been working for over a year now to try and put together a radio bingo with our partners at FM 101. We had a tacit agreement with My FM, but as many of you know, the radio station changed hands over the summer. And of course, that required the new ownership to, buy into this program. All the I's were dotted and T's were crossed back a couple of weeks ago. And we are going to be starting a radio bingo Tuesday, December 7th from 7 p.m. till 8:15 or so p.m. on FM 101. There'll be $2,000 in prizes, and money will be raised and given back to the community by the Orangeville Lions Club. So I wanted to share that with the community. We're starting some advertising. It's already being advertised on the radio right now, but there'll be some additional advertising, and there'll be vendors around town where you can buy the bingo sheets. So those of you who enjoy bingo, this will be available in the next couple of weeks. So I wanted to share that with the public. All right, anything else, councillors? All right. Question period. Ms. Pormancherry, Mr. Bonato, or Madam Clerk, do we have anybody in the queue?
Through your worship, there's no one on the call right now.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 19. This is a bylaw to confirm the proceeding of tonight's meeting. Can we have a motion, please? Councillor Post, second by Councillor Andrews. All in favor? And a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Sherwood, second by Councillor Taylor. All in favor? All right. Well, whoever had the over-under for 8 o'clock just lost because it went to 8:01. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
And good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
all.